I fired 7 nurses in 3 days, so what makes you think you'll be any different? The voice is low, controlled, but sharp enough to cut through the quiet hum of machines. Ethan Cole doesn't look at her when he says it. He's staring out the floor-to-ceiling window of his private hospital suite, 32 floors above Manhattan, where the city glows like something distant, untouchable. His jaw is tight, his expression unreadable, and everything about him feels closed off, like a locked door no one's ever managed to open. Lily Carter doesn't answer right away. She steps further into the room, the soft rubber soles of her shoes barely making a sound against the polished floor. The scent of antiseptic lingers in the air, mixed with something colder, something lonelier. She notices the untouched tray of food by his bedside, the untouched glass of water, the untouched world he's chosen to shut out. I don't think anything, she finally says, her voice calm, steady in a way that doesn't ask permission. I'm just here to do my job. That makes him turn. Just slightly. Just enough for his eyes to meet hers for the first time. And there it is, the weight people warn her about. Not anger. Not arrogance. Something deeper. Distrust, carved in so deeply it almost looks permanent. My job, he repeats, almost like he doesn't believe in the concept anymore. Lily moves closer, setting her bag down on the chair by the wall. She doesn't rush, doesn't fidget, doesn't try to impress him or soften the silence. She simply exists in it, like she's not afraid of it swallowing her whole. You can fire me too, she adds quietly, glancing at the chart without picking it up yet. But not before I at least try. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The machines continue their steady rhythm. The city keeps moving outside, and something small, almost invisible, shifts in the space between them. Ethan studies her like he's trying to figure out what angle she's playing, what she wants, what she's hiding. Because everyone wants something. He learned that the hard way. The accident didn't just leave scars on his body. It burned away whatever trust he had left in people. Business partners who smiled while signing contracts, family members who waited for him to fall, people who only saw him as a number, a name, a headline. He trusted once. He won't make that mistake again. Don't touch anything, he says finally, his voice colder now, pulling back behind the wall he knows so well. And don't expect me to make this easy for you. Lily nods once, like she expected nothing less. Then, without asking again, she reaches for the pitcher of water beside his bed, pours a fresh glass, and sets it within his reach. Not too close, not too far. A small gesture. Almost nothing. But it's the first thing in the room that's been changed all day. Ethan's eyes flicker to the glass, then back to her. And for the first time since she walked in, he doesn't tell her to leave. The next morning, the room feels different, not warmer, not softer, just occupied in a way it was not before. Ethan notices it before he even opens his eyes, the faint rustle of fabric, the quiet clink of something being set down carefully, deliberately. He does not move at first. He listens. For the past 3 days, every nurse who walked into this room filled it with noise, forced cheerfulness, nervous explanations, the subtle impatience of people who were already counting down the minutes until they could leave. But this is different. When he finally opens his eyes, Lily is by the window, adjusting the blinds just enough to let in the pale morning light without letting it flood the room. She does not turn around immediately. She does not greet him like he is the center of the universe. She just finishes what she is doing, then walks over with that same steady calm that feels almost out of place in a room like this. You should drink some water, she says, nodding toward the glass she left yesterday. It is still there, untouched. He follows her gaze, then looks back at her, expression unreadable. You are still here, he says instead, his voice rough from disuse. There is no greeting in it, no warmth. Just observation. Lily shrugs slightly, like it is the most obvious thing in the world. It has not been 24 hours yet. Ethan lets out a quiet breath through his nose, something close to a humorless laugh. Most people do not last too. Most people are not me. She replies, simple, not defensive, not proud. Just a fact. That should annoy him. It should push him to test her, to find the edge where her calm breaks. But instead, it lingers. He shifts slightly against the pillows, a subtle wince crossing his face before he can stop it. Lily notices. Of course she does. But she does not rush forward. She does not hover. She just reaches for the chart now, scanning it briefly before setting it back down. Pain level, she asks. Fine. The answer comes too quickly, too sharp. She studies him for a second, then nods once, like she is filing the lie away for later instead of arguing with it now. All right, she says. Then we start small. Before he can ask what she means, she moves to the side of the bed, adjusting the blanket, checking the monitors with quiet efficiency. Her hands are steady, precise, but there is something else there too, something he cannot quite name. Not fear, not obligation, something closer to care. He watches her longer than he intends to. Watches the way she does not hesitate, does not second guess, does not treat him like he is fragile or untouchable, just human. It unsettles him more than anything else. Why are you doing this? He asks suddenly, the question cutting through the silence. Lily pauses, just for a fraction of a second, then looks at him. Because you need it. That is not a reason, he says, his eyes narrowing slightly. It is enough of one, she answers. And somehow, that is the first answer he has heard in a long time that does not feel like it is hiding something underneath. The room falls quiet again, but this time it does not feel empty. Ethan glances at the glass of water one more time, then, almost reluctantly, reaches for it. It is a small movement, barely noticeable, but Lily sees it. She does not smile. She does not say anything. She just turns back to her work, as if she always knew he would. By the third day, Ethan starts to notice patterns he cannot ignore. The way Lily always arrives exactly at 7:30 in the morning, never a minute early, never a minute late. The way she ties her hair back with the same simple band before she begins. The way she places her worn canvas bag on the same chair by the wall, as if routine itself is a form of control in a world that rarely offers any. And most of all, the way she speaks to him. Not like he is a billionaire, not like he is a patient, but like he is simply a person who happens to be here, breathing, existing, recovering. And it unsettles him in a way he does not understand, because people always adjust around him. They calculate, they perform, they want something, but Lily does not seem to want anything at all, and that makes her impossible to read, which makes her dangerous in a way he cannot define. You are staring, she says without looking up from the tablet she is updating, her tone neutral, almost casual, and it catches him off guard because he did not realize he was. I am observing. He corrects, his voice steady again, back behind that familiar wall, and for a second, just a second, she almost smiles, not fully, just the faintest shift at the corner of her mouth before it disappears. That sounds like something a control freak would say. She replies, still focused on her notes, and that should irritate him. It should push him to remind her who he is, what he built, the kind of authority he carries even in a hospital bed. But instead there is something unexpected, something lighter, almost unfamiliar, like a reaction he forgot how to have. He exhales slowly, turning his gaze back toward the window, the city stretching endlessly below. Control is the only thing that makes sense, he says after a moment, quieter now, less defensive, more like a statement than a warning. Lily pauses then, actually pauses, and looks at him, really looks at him this time, as if she is trying to understand not just the words but what sits underneath them. Or maybe it is just the only thing you have left, she says gently, and the room goes still, the kind of stillness that does not come from silence, but from something being said that lands too close to the truth. Ethan's jaw tightens, his fingers curling slightly against the blanket, because that is not a question he wants to answer, not out loud, not even to himself. You do not know anything about me, he says, sharper now, the wall snapping back into place. But Lily does not step back, does not apologize. She simply nods once, acknowledging the boundary without retreating from it. You are right, she says, her voice calm, grounded. But I know what it looks like when someone is holding on too tightly to something that is hurting them. And for a moment, just a moment, Ethan cannot respond, because the way she says it does not feel like judgment. It feels like recognition, like she has been there too, like whatever she carries is not so different from what he is trying to bury. He studies her again, more carefully this time, noticing the faint wear on her sleeves, the subtle crease in her bag, the way she adjusts the small, faded handkerchief tucked into her pocket as if it matters more than anything else she owns. And suddenly the question shifts. Not why is she here, but what has she been through to become this unshakable? You act like you have it all figured out, he says, quieter now, less guarded, and Lily shakes her head slightly. a soft breath leaving her lips. "No," she answers. "I just learned what happens when you shut everyone out." And this time, the silence that follows does not feel like a wall. It feels like a door that might, just might, open if he lets it. That night, the city outside glows brighter than usual, or maybe Ethan just notices it more. The steady pulse of headlights, the distant flicker of office towers still alive long after business hours should have ended. A world that used to revolve around him now continuing without waiting, without asking. And for the first time in a long time, he does not feel in control of it. He feels removed, like a spectator in a life he once directed, and somehow, that thought lingers longer than he is comfortable admitting. "You should try sitting up a little longer today," Lily says, breaking through the quiet as she adjusts the pillows behind him, her movements careful but confident, like she has already decided what is possible and is simply guiding him toward it. Ethan glances at her, a flicker of resistance crossing his face. "And what makes you think I want to?" he asks, his tone sharper than necessary, but not as cold as before, not as final. Lily does not react to the edge in his voice. She just meets his gaze, steady, unshaken. "Because staying exactly where you are has not been working," she replies, and there is no challenge in her words, just truth, simple and direct, and somehow that makes it harder to argue with. He exhales slowly, shifting slightly, testing the tension in his body, the limits he has been avoiding, and for a moment he considers refusing, pushing back, reclaiming that sense of control he clings to so tightly. But instead, almost without realizing it, he nods once, a small, reluctant agreement that feels bigger than it should. Lily notices, of course she does, but she does not acknowledge it. She just helps him adjust, one movement at a time, giving him space to do what he can on his own, and something about that, the lack of pressure, the absence of expectation, makes it easier to keep going. Minutes pass slowly, measured not by the clock but by the quiet effort it takes to sit upright, to stay there, to not immediately retreat back into the comfort of stillness. And when he finally settles, breathing a little heavier than before, Lily hands him a glass of water without a word. The same glass, the same placement, the same quiet consistency. He takes it this time without hesitation, and that, more than anything, surprises him. "You are getting used to me," she says lightly, not teasing, not pushing, just observing. Ethan looks at the glass in his hand, then back at her, his expression unreadable but softer around the edges. "Or maybe I am just tolerating you," he replies, but there is no bite in it, no real resistance, just a faint echo of the man he was trying to be. Lily tilts her head slightly, considering that, then nods. "That is a start," she says, and something about the way she says it makes it feel like progress instead of compromise. The room falls into a comfortable silence after that, the kind that does not demand to be filled, and for the first time since he woke up here, Ethan does not feel the need to break it, does not feel the urge to push her away or question her presence. Instead, he finds himself watching her again. The way she organizes the small things, the way she hums softly under her breath when she thinks no one is listening, the way she carries something unseen but heavy and still chooses to show up every day. And without thinking, the question slips out before he can stop it. "What happened to you?" Lily pauses, her hand resting lightly on the edge of the table, the faintest shift in her posture giving away that she was not expecting that. She looks at him then, really looks, as if deciding how much to say, how much to keep, and for a moment, the balance between them changes, no longer just caregiver and patient, but something more equal, something more human. "Enough," she says finally, her voice quieter now, softer but not fragile. "Enough to know that shutting people out does not protect you, it just leaves you alone." And the words hang there, heavier this time, because now they are not just an observation, they are a confession, and Ethan feels it, not as an attack, not as a warning, but as something dangerously close to understanding, something that makes the walls he built feel less solid than they used to be, and for the first time, he does not immediately try to rebuild them. The following afternoon, something shifts again, but this time it is quieter, almost unnoticeable unless you are looking for it, and Ethan is starting to look, not intentionally, not consciously, but enough to catch the small things he used to ignore, like the way Lily's routine never changes even when everything else does, the way she folds the blanket with precise corners, The way she checks the monitors twice, even when she already knows they are fine. The way her hand lingers for half a second longer than necessary when adjusting the pillow behind his back, not out of hesitation, but out of care. And that word, care, feels unfamiliar in a space he once filled with contracts, numbers, and calculated decisions. You do not have to stay late, he says suddenly, his voice cutting through the quiet as he notices the dim light outside the window, the sun already dipping behind the skyline, casting long shadows across the room. Lily glances at the clock, then back at him. My shift ended 10 minutes ago, she admits, but she does not move to leave. Ethan studies her, a slight furrow in his brow. Then why are you still here? He asks, not accusing, just curious. And that alone surprises him, because curiosity is not something he has felt toward another person in a long time. Lily hesitates, just briefly, before reaching into the pocket of her scrubs and pulling out the same small, faded handkerchief he noticed before. She unfolds it carefully, revealing delicate stitching along the edges, worn but still intact. Because sometimes leaving right away feels wrong, she says softly, her eyes lowering to the fabric in her hands. And sometimes people need more than what the clock says they are owed. Ethan watches her closely now, something tightening in his chest, not discomfort, not quite, something closer to recognition. That sounds expensive, he says, trying to bring the conversation back to something he understands, something measurable. Lily lets out a small breath that might almost be a laugh. It is, she replies, folding the handkerchief again with the same careful precision. But not everything that costs you something is meant to be counted. And that lands differently than anything else she has said so far. Because for the first time, Ethan realizes he has been counting everything his entire life. Every risk, every gain, every person, every relationship reduced to value and outcome. And suddenly, sitting here in a quiet hospital room with someone who clearly lives by a different set of rules, that way of thinking feels incomplete. He shifts slightly, the movement more natural now, less guarded. Where did you learn that? He asks, his voice lower, less defensive. Lily pauses again, her fingers tightening slightly around the fabric before she looks back at him. From someone who did not have much, she says, her tone steady but softer now, but gave everything anyway. Ethan nods slowly, absorbing that, not fully understanding it, but not dismissing it either. And for a moment, neither of them speaks, the silence stretching but not breaking, until he glances at the handkerchief again. That is important to you, he says, more statement than question. Lily follows his gaze, her expression shifting just enough to reveal something deeper beneath the calm. It is all I have left of her, she answers quietly. And there it is, the first real piece of her story, small but significant, and Ethan feels the weight of it, not as an obligation, not as something to fix, but as something to respect. He looks away then, back toward the city, but this time it does not feel as distant as it did before, because for the first time, the room does not feel like a place he is trapped in. It feels like a place where something is slowly, carefully beginning to change. And when Lily finally stands to leave, adjusting her bag over her shoulder, he does not tell her to go, does not remind her that she is no longer needed. Instead, he says something else, something quieter, almost unfamiliar even to himself. You will be here tomorrow. And it is not a question, but it is not a command either. Lily pauses at the door, glancing back at him. And for the first time, she lets herself smile, small but real. Yes, she says, I will. And as the door closes behind her, Ethan remains still, staring at the space she just left, realizing that for the first time in a long time, he is not waiting for someone to leave. He is already waiting for them to come back. The next morning, Ethan wakes before the light fully reaches the room. The sky outside still painted in shades of gray and blue. The city quieter than usual, or maybe just quieter to him. And for a brief moment, before his thoughts fully catch up, he feels something unfamiliar, something almost like anticipation, subtle but present. And he does not need to look at the clock to know what time it is, because his mind has already started counting, already expecting the soft rhythm of footsteps, the quiet shift in the air that follows her presence. And when the door finally opens at exactly 7:30, something in his chest settles in a way he does not question. Lily steps inside like she always does, no hesitation, no performance, just that same grounded calm that somehow fills the room without trying. "You are awake early," she says, noticing immediately, her tone light but observant. Ethan glances at her, then away, as if the answer matters less than the fact that she noticed, "Could not sleep." He replies, though it is not entirely true, he slept, just not deeply, not the kind of sleep that erases everything, but the kind that leaves space for thoughts to linger. Lily nods slightly, setting her bag down, beginning her routine, and for a moment, everything feels exactly as it should, until it does not, until the door opens again without warning, sharper this time, less controlled, and a man steps in, dressed in a tailored suit that looks out of place in the sterile calm of the hospital room. His presence immediate, heavy, and without waiting, without asking, he walks in like he belongs there. "Ethan," the man says, his voice smooth but firm, carrying an authority that is not medical, not neutral. Ethan's entire posture changes instantly. The subtle ease that had begun to form disappears, replaced by something rigid, guarded, familiar in the worst way. "You should not be here this early," Ethan says, his tone colder than it has been in days. Lily pauses, her hand hovering slightly above the tray she was adjusting, her eyes moving between them, sensing the shift, the tension that has nothing to do with recovery and everything to do with something deeper. "We need to talk," the man continues, ignoring the resistance, his gaze flicking briefly toward Lily, assessing, calculating, then back to Ethan. "Alone," he adds, and the word lands like a command, not a request. Lily straightens slightly, her instinct telling her to step back, to give them space. But something in the way Ethan's jaw tightens, in the way his fingers curl slightly against the sheets, makes her hesitate. "It is fine," Ethan says, though his voice carries none of the calm he used to have. "She can stay." The man's expression shifts just enough to reveal disapproval, but he does not argue. Instead, he steps closer, lowering his voice slightly, though not enough to hide the intent behind it. "The board is asking questions," he says, each word measured, controlled, "and your absence is becoming a liability." Ethan lets out a slow breath, his eyes hardening. "Then tell them to wait," he replies, but there is tension beneath it, something unresolved, something unfinished. The man shakes his head slightly. "That is not how this works anymore," he says, and the implication hangs there, heavy and unspoken. Lily watches carefully now, not interrupting, not stepping in, but observing. The way Ethan's control seems to slip just slightly, the way this conversation touches something deeper than business, deeper than recovery, something personal, something that does not belong in this room, but has found its way in any way. "I will handle it," Ethan says finally, his tone sharper now, final, but the man does not move, does not leave. Instead, he studies Ethan for a moment longer, then glances briefly at Lily again. "Make sure you know who you are trusting," he says, his voice quieter now, almost casual. But the meaning behind it is anything but, and then he turns, walking out as quickly as he entered, leaving behind a silence that feels heavier than before. Ethan does not speak right away, his gaze fixed somewhere distant, his expression unreadable again, the walls back in place, stronger this time, reinforced, and for the first time since she met him, Lily feels it clearly. The distance, the doubt, the shift, like something fragile between them has just been tested, and she does not yet know if it will hold. The silence after the door closes does not fade. It settles, heavy and unmoving, like something that has been waiting just beneath the surface finally found its way into the room. And Ethan does not look at Lily, not right away, his gaze fixed on the window again. But this time the city does not seem distant. It feels sharp, intrusive, like a reminder of everything he cannot escape, everything that is still waiting for him outside these walls. "You should not listen to him," Lily says carefully, her voice steady but softer now, not pushing, not assuming, just placing the words in the space between them. Ethan lets out a quiet breath, something closer to tension than relief. "That is exactly what someone with something to hide would say," he replies, and the shift is immediate. The warmth that had been building over the past few days pulls back, replaced by something colder, more familiar. Lily stills for a second, the words landing harder than she expected, not because of what they mean, but because of where they come from. The doubt, the reflex, the part of him that does not know how to trust even when there is no reason not to. If you think I am hiding something, you can ask me, she says, her voice calm but firmer now, grounded in something deeper than just professionalism. Ethan finally turns to look at her, really look at her, his expression guarded, searching, as if he is trying to find the crack, the inconsistency, the proof that she is no different from everyone else. Why are you here? He asks again, but this time it is not curiosity, it is challenge. Lily holds his gaze, not flinching, not stepping back. Because I chose to be, she answers. Simple, direct, but he shakes his head slightly, frustration flickering beneath the surface. No one chooses this, he says, gesturing vaguely to the room, to the situation, to everything that comes with being him. People stay because they are paid, because they have to, because they want something in return. Lily's grip tightens slightly on the edge of the tray beside her, not enough to show anger, but enough to ground herself. Not everything works like that, she replies, and there is something in her tone now, something more personal, something that is no longer just about him. Ethan studies her for a moment longer, then glances briefly at the handkerchief in her pocket, the one she never puts away, the one she carries like a piece of something she refuses to lose. Then tell me what you want, he says, quieter now, but sharper, and for a moment, Lily does not answer, not because she does not know, but because she understands what the question really means. It is not about her. It is about him, about the part of him that cannot accept anything without a price attached to it. I want you to get better, she says finally, her voice steady, unshaken. That is it. Ethan lets out a short breath, almost a laugh, but there is no humor in it. That is not how the world works, he says, but there is less certainty in it now, less conviction, like the idea itself is starting to feel unfamiliar. Lily steps back slightly, giving him space, not retreating, just allowing the distance he seems to need. Maybe not your world, she says softly, but it is the only one I know. And for a moment, the tension hangs there, unresolved, neither of them moving, neither of them giving in, until Ethan looks away again, back toward the city, but this time his expression is not just guarded, it is conflicted, because for the first time, the doubt he feels is not just about her. It is about himself, about whether the rules he has lived by are as unbreakable as he always believed, and Lily sees it. She does not point it out, does not try to fix it. She simply returns to her work, quiet, steady, present, even as the space between them feels wider than it did before. Because sometimes healing does not move forward in a straight line. Sometimes it pulls back, tests the ground, and waits to see what will hold. The rest of the day moves differently, slower, heavier, like every action carries the weight of what was said and what was not, and Ethan does not try to fill the silence this time. He lets it sit, lets it stretch, because pushing against it feels harder than just existing inside it. But the distance between them is no longer invisible. It is there in every glance he avoids, every word he chooses not to say, and Lily feels it too. Though she does not change her routine, does not rush or retreat. She continues the same quiet rhythm, adjusting, checking, helping, as if consistency itself is her way of holding the ground steady while everything else shifts, until the knock on the door breaks through again, softer this time, more controlled, and a woman in a navy suit steps inside, her posture professional, her expression careful. Mr. Cole, she says, offering a polite nod. The board has scheduled a remote meeting for tomorrow morning. They are expecting you to attend. Ethan's jaw tightens slightly, the tension from earlier returning, but this time it is different, less reactive, more measured. I will consider it, he replies, his voice even. The woman hesitates, then adds, there have also been concerns raised about internal access to your medical records. Her words are chosen carefully, but the implication is clear, and the room shifts again, sharper this time. Lily pauses, her hand stilling for just a moment before she slowly turns, her eyes moving from the woman to Ethan, not defensive, not afraid, just steady. What kind of concerns? Ethan asks, his gaze narrowing slightly, the old instincts rising again, the need to assess, to calculate, to protect. The woman glances briefly at Lily, then back at him. Unauthorized viewing attempts, she says, her tone neutral but precise. The system flagged repeated access requests outside standard procedure. And now the silence that follows is different, heavier, more dangerous in its implications. Ethan's gaze shifts slowly toward Lily, not accusing yet, but not neutral either. Something in between, something uncertain, something that should not be there after everything that has passed between them. I did not access anything I was not assigned to, Lily says before he can speak, her voice calm, controlled. But there is something underneath it now, something that was not there before, not fear, but something closer to hurt, not because of the accusation itself, but because of what it represents. Ethan studies her, his mind moving faster than his expression shows, weighing, questioning, and for a moment, the version of him that trusts no one rises again, louder this time, stronger, reinforced by years of experience that taught him exactly what happens when you let your guard down. Leave us, he says finally, his voice low, directed at the woman. She nods once and exits without another word, the door closing behind her with a soft but final click. And now it is just the two of them again, but everything feels different, sharper, more fragile. Did you? Ethan asks, the question simple, but the weight behind it unmistakable. Lily does not look away, does not hesitate. No, she answers, just as simply, but the space between them does not immediately settle, because this is the moment that matters, not the accusation, not the explanation, but what comes next, whether he chooses the instinct that has protected him for years or the trust that has only just begun to form. Ethan holds her gaze, searching, not for proof, not for evidence, but for something less tangible, something he does not fully understand. And for the first time, the decision does not feel obvious. It does not feel automatic. It feels uncertain, like standing on the edge of something that could either break or hold. And that uncertainty, more than anything else, is what makes this moment different from every one that came before. The question lingers in the air longer than it should, stretching the space between them into something fragile, something that could collapse under the wrong choice. And Ethan feels it, the weight of it, not just as a moment, but as a turning point, because this is no longer about data or access logs or corporate concerns. This is about something far more dangerous to him, something he has avoided his entire life. Trust, real trust, the kind that cannot be proven, cannot be calculated, cannot be controlled. Lily does not move, does not defend herself beyond that single word, no, because she understands that anything more would sound like persuasion, and persuasion is the language he does not believe in. So she simply stands there, steady, grounded, allowing him the space to decide what matters more, his instinct or what he has started to feel. Ethan exhales slowly, his gaze dropping for just a moment before returning to her. And in that brief second, something shifts, something quiet but undeniable, because he realizes that if he chooses doubt now, if he lets that old reflex take over, then everything that has changed over the past days means nothing. It disappears, erased by the same fear that has kept him alone for years. And for the first time, that thought does not feel safe. It feels wrong. No, he says finally, his voice low but certain, and Lily blinks slightly, not expecting the word. Not because she doubted herself, but because she understands how difficult that choice is for him. Ethan's gaze hardens, but not at her, at something else, something beyond this room. You did not do it. He continues more firmly now, as if saying it out loud anchors the decision in place. And just like that, the tension breaks, not completely, not perfectly, but enough to let something else take its place, something stronger, something earned. Lily exhales quietly, the smallest release of breath, but she does not step forward, does not thank him, because she knows this is not about gratitude. It is about what comes next. And Ethan already knows what that is, because for the first time, he is not reacting. He is choosing. Call them back, he says, his voice shifting, steadier now, more like the man he used to be, but different in a way that is hard to define. Not colder, not distant, just clearer. Lily nods once and moves to the door, stepping out to bring the woman back in. And when she returns, Ethan does not hesitate. Run the audit again, he says, his tone sharp, precise. Check the internal logs from executive-level access, not medical staff. The woman hesitates for a fraction of a second, then nods quickly, understanding the implication. understanding where this is going. And within hours, the answer comes back, quiet but undeniable. The unauthorized access did not come from Lily. It came from inside his own executive circle, someone with clearance, someone who had no reason to be anywhere near his medical records. And the realization lands heavily, not as a shock, but as confirmation of something he has always known but never fully confronted, that the real threat was never the people who showed up quietly, consistently, asking for nothing. It was the ones who already had everything and still wanted more. The room is quiet again after the update is delivered, the weight of truth settling in. But this time, it does not feel suffocating, it feels clarifying. Ethan looks at Lily then, not as a question, not as a test, but as a recognition, something real, something he did not think he would ever allow himself to feel again. "You stayed," he says, his voice quieter now, stripped of the defenses that once defined it. Lily meets his gaze, her expression soft but steady. "I told you I would," she replies, simple, but it carries everything that matters. Ethan nods. Slowly, the movement small but meaningful, because now he understands what that meant, what it cost, what it represents, and for the first time, he does not feel the need to guard himself against it. He does not feel the urge to question it. Instead, he lets it be what it is, real, unmeasured, uncalculated. "I was wrong," he says, the words unfamiliar but necessary, and Lily does not make a big moment out of it. She just accepts it,